Uh-huh. Click the link and dive right in. AI bites in every spin.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going back in time, going to be exploring a really pivotal period, 1895 to 1950.
Okay.
And we're going to be looking at it through the lens of historian Carroll Quigley.
Right.
And you've given us some excerpts from his book Tragedy and Hope,
Yeah.
which deals with, a huge shift in global power dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely. Quigley argues that this era, it wasn't just defined by wars and depressions,
Right.
although those were, very significant factors.
Of course. Yeah.
But it was more about a fundamental change in how the world functioned.
Okay.
Moving away from European kind of dominance towards a more complex system.
So a behind-the-scenes look at how the world stage is reset.
Exactly.
Very cool, very cool. So Quigley calls 1895 to 1950 a period of transition. What was it transitioning from?
Well, for most of the 19th century, European empires, they really held, they held the reins of global power. They set the terms of international trade.
Right.
They shaped the political landscapes. They even had a lot of influence over culture.
Right.
You think about the reach of the British Empire or the French colonies. I mean, Europe was the epicenter.
Right. Right.
But, cracks were already starting to show in this structure.
Right. Yeah. Like the United States was kind of coming up in the world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then he also talks about three blocks.
Yes.
What did he mean by that?
So, it was a very turbulent time.
Okay.
This period sees the rise of, all these competing ideologies,
Yeah.
the formation of these really powerful alliances.
Okay.
Think about the lead up to World War I, the tensions that were beating up, and then the war itself.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have the rise of fascism, Italy and Germany, the spread of communism, out of Russia. And all of this culminates in World War II, right?
Right.
And so Quigley's arguing that these events, they completely changed the global power structure.
So instead of this Europe-centric, Europe making all the rules, we end up with...
a multipolar world.
Okay.
The United States comes out of World War II as this superpower.
Right.
But it's a position that's challenged by the Soviet Union.
Right.
And at the same time, you see other regions of the world starting to assert themselves more.
Okay.
They want a seat at the table now.
Right.
But, and this is what I find really interesting.
Okay, this is the good stuff.
This is where Quigley, he kind of goes beyond just the surface level.
Okay.
He doesn't just focus on the headline events, right?
Right.
He digs into this world of finance
Okay.
and commercial networks. And these things were already evolving even before 1914.
Okay.
He says, if you really want to understand the world today, you got to understand these patterns, these financial patterns.
So how different cultures were interacting, how money was flowing, all of that plays into how we got here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you give me an example of what you mean by these financial networks?
Sure. So Quigley talks about the role of the Bank of England, the early 20th century, and he shows how their policies, especially with things like gold reserves, interest rates, all of that, had a huge effect on global markets.
Interesting.
Influencing like where people were investing, trade relationships.
Wow.
Even the internal economic policies of other nations.
See, and that's the kind of stuff that I think a lot of people don't realize. It's like we're so focused on, like branches.
The surface.
But not the roots
Exactly.
of how global power really works.
And that's one of his most insightful points, I think, is that we need to look beyond the immediate players, the events, and understand these systems.
The systems.
These networks of finance, of commerce, of culture.
Is it connected?
It is all connected.
So if there is one thing, one key takeaway, based on all of Quigley's observations that we should be thinking about today,
I would say pay attention to the undercurrents. Okay. The things that are happening below the surface, these big shifts in power, they're not always about wars and treaties. It's the culmination of years of, evolving relationships, economic relationships, cultural relationships.
So look around at the world today.
Exactly.
And what are the things that are going on right now?
What's going to surprise us in 50 years?
Right. What's going to be the next big power shift?
Yeah.
A lot to think about. Wow.
A lot to think about.
This has been great. I really appreciate it. This was really insightful.
Happy to be here.
And to all of you listening, we'd love to hear what you took away from all of this.
Yes.
What's your deep dive question?
Let us know.
Let us know. We'll see you next time.
Uh-huh. dive right in. AI bites in every spin.